Let me know when you start recording, okay?
Yeah, I started. Yeah,
Ah,
go on.
okay then. So good evening to one and all present over here. My name is Shashank Tripathi and I'm assistant analyst at the club today, and I will be the presenter for the evening. Today we'll be discussing about introduction to data visualization and what data visualization is and how we you can use it in your career and whatever job profile you might go in after graduation. So the agenda for the session will be divided into two parts. The first half, for about 30 to 35 minutes, I'll be talking about the introduction to data visualization, the types of visualizations that are available and you can use, and what a good data visualization looks like, or what the components are. The second half will move on to the Tableau software and see what Tableau is, and we'll see how the interface looks. We'll connect to a data source and see a minute, small manipulation techniques that you can do. We'll create some the charts we'll see in the presentation in the software, and we'll create a simple dashboard to understand how the software works and why it's an effective tool for data visualization. So let's start. So what is data visualization? For this, I'd like to start with a quote that goes around as, "A picture is worth 1,000 words, but a good visualization is worth millions." Now, this may sound very cliche, but it's very true. What data visualization essentially is a visual representation of data in order to derive insights and drive decision making. That is the sole purpose why we use data visualization. Let's say you are in a functional role and it's first week in your office, and your manager comes and gives you the CSV file or an Excel sheet, and he goes, just tell me what category of the segment is selling most and has a high profit, and various other questions you might ask. Now, to convey this information, it might not be easy through this Excel sheet, because as you can see, I have just sampled out a few rows, and you can definitely work some formulas in Excel, but it won't be quick and it won't be as effective. Now, let's say you move on to Tableau and you create such a bar chart, and you go to your manager and tell him, okay, the telephone, office, and table chairs seems to be doing well in terms of sales, but the other categories are not doing in terms of sales or the profit. So that is something that you can look at. Now, this instantly gives you a number of answers to your questions. Who has the highest sales? Who has the lowest profit? Where there are high sales but low profit, and vice versa. So this is what a data visualization effectively does to you. So let's see what different type of data visualizations are, options that are available to you according to the data that is at hand. So the first one is a bar or column chart. This is primarily the most simple form of visualization you might have often encountered. This is used to compare categories against a certain measure. For example, there is a column chart. So here the category we are using is countries, and we are comparing these countries against the measure of the reserves of their oil. Now, as you can see, okay, as you can see, Venezuela has the highest number of reserves. Then comes Saudi, Canada, Iran, and so on. So this gives you a general idea. Okay, in on this globe, these are the countries that have so and so amount of reserves. Another type, now if I were to the axis, on the x-axis we have the categories, and on the y we have the reserve. Now if I were to flip this axis, now you will get what is what we call a bar chart. It is also a similar representation, is just the change of axis, and it's just how you want to represent your data according to your preference. Another type of uh, yeah, another type of representation is called a stacked column chart. Now here we are comparing categories against the categories. For example, I like to say you have a number of strategies for products. the sales strategy that you have for a number of products. As you can see against the measure, this is the measure of sales, and we are measuring what strategy works best for what product. As you can see for product G, the strategy first works best. And you can again, derive insight by looking, for example, again for product B, the strategy 6 works best. So this is how you can chart. But here we are comparing categories in terms of percentages, not in terms of sales. Sorry, of a measure. For example, here was a measure of sales. We may compare it here in terms of percentages and not the measure. Moving on to the next type, we'll see a line chart. We use line charts to observe change over time in a particular measure. Again, there are different types to it. So first we'll look at a simple line chart. This is the daily new cases that have been going around in the pandemic, and as you can observe, this gives you a fairly decent picture about, okay, so around mid September we had peaked, and since then we have a reduction of cases, and it's quite stagnating in the recent days. So it gives you a simple idea of how the cases have risen and fallen over the period. Now, when you compare multiple line charts, this will give you this chart, and for example, you are monitoring some stocks in your portfolio. This gives you a fair idea how your stocks might be performing. Again, the measure is the stock or via time, so measuring over time. Another kind is an area chart. Here we stack the area charts and try to compare how a particular measure is performing in terms of, for example, here you can see there is region. So as you can see, the region is performing best as compared to other regions. So in terms of total sales. So here you can compare, okay, what is the proportion and how it's been varying over time. Another type is a stacked line chart. Here also you can, here similar to the bar chart, what we see is a conversion to percentages, and this percentage you can see like how solar, the share of solar has increased and wind, and the other biofuels and biomasses have, the shares have reduced. And this is also one way to represent your data. Now, when we use combination charts when we want to compare categories on one or more measures. For example, let's say you have this is a sales chart. You have target sales and you have actual sales. For example, over time you can see somewhere there are targets met and somewhere the targets are not met. Why? You can look further into it. And then again, there are the market days, how long the product has been in the market. So that gives you idea, okay, maybe the sales in terms of sales and the availability of products. So there you can derive your insights according to your preference. Moving on to next, the pie chart. It is again a very familiar chart you must have come across. Here we compare category in circular graphs. So let's say, for example, here we have an expense comparison, how expense of a particular household is, divided into categories. You can see the measure that is dollars and how it's represented on a pie. It gives you a fair idea. Okay, the rent is the maximum share, then there goes to food, and we have a fairly good savings. Now, another version of the pie chart is called a donut chart. It's almost similar. It's just a hole cut out in between. It looks like a donut, hence it's called a donut chart. Here is the survey result that you can see. The mystery and romance have of the book genre. You can see that the mystery and romance have a fairly similar share, and then the biography, then science, then self-help, and the least is horror. So it gives you a holistic picture about how the book genres are favored by the audience. Moving on to, sorry, yeah. So another type of pie or your chart you can say is a sunburst chart. This helps you to drill down into your categories. For example, you have categories of children books, romance, and magazine. Now you want to drill down, okay, what share of children books is divided
Uh,
by? So the age
S-
three,
Sashank,
yeah,
sorry for the interruption. Your screen is not visible, means it got stuck. So,
wait one second. Till what were you able to see?
donut chart that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is it visible now?
No, it's still stuck.
Okay, one second.
Yeah. So guys, in the meantime, you guys can type what all the graphs you all know, means different types of charts and all you know in the chat box. So it will be great to know.
Hello.
Yes, Ashank.
Is it visible now?
Not, uh, still not.
So
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah,
it's visible now?
yeah, it's visible. Means you are
Okay.
on the eighth slide, I guess. Means Sunburst break down the contribution of each group.
Okay. I hope you can see my screen problem, right?
Yeah, screen is visible. Yeah.
It's not in the presentation mode, Shashank. It's just PowerPoint is there, but you haven't entered presentation mode.
I do apologize for the inconvenience. This seems to be an issue.
Just try
Yeah,
to stop sharing and then probably restart again.
yeah,
Yes,
it will
just
be.
give me a second.
Yeah. So Harshit, yeah, maybe as now the talking is all about the graphs and all what type of chart. So in the audience, I want to ask means what all means have you means watched the stock prices and all. So which type of chart it is? Can you type in the chat box? Nice. So yeah, we are getting correct answers as well. So yeah,
Am I visible now?
yeah, it's visible. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can.
Okay. I do apologize for the inconvenience. Yeah. I hope you can see the screen now.
Uh, still it's not up. Yeah, now it's visible.
Yeah, you can see the sunburst chart, right?
So yeah, guys, the correct answer is the candlestick and line. Yeah, you can observe. Now we will continue the presentation, and sorry for the delay.
Yeah, I do apologize for the inconvenience. So, okay, we were discussing about pie charts, and this is a variation of pie chart called the sunburst chart. Here we can drill down into your categories. Now, as you can say, let's say, okay, children books has a fair share, and in that children book have age 3 to 5 that has a maximum share, and in age 3 to 5 we have the first readers, ABCs, and the Tolstoy for tots, and the books. So this is another way of drilling down into your categories and the share of that category in your data. Moving on to the next, the most common plot you will face during your engineering or research work, yeah, especially if you are going into data science field, the scatter plot. Now, scatter plot is a plot against two measures and not categories. So the x and the y axis both are values and not categorical values. So let's say, for example, this chart we area, and on the y-axis we have the sales price. We use scatter plot to find out relation between our data. So let's say we want to find out what is the relation between the living area sale price. As you can see, there is a linear trend. There is generally increase in sale price if there is an increase in ground living area. Now, these are called outliers. For example, the area is fairly small here, but the sale price is high. So maybe you can drill down to, what may be the reason. This may be a major city or a suburb, or you can go here into like why the sale prices of this land is not high, and you can, further drill down into it. Now, the another kind of scatter plot is called a bubble plot. We have two dimensions here. Now, when we add a third dimension of size, the scatter plot turns into a bubble chart. So, for example, we have a scatter plot of unemployment versus crime rate here. And fairly, you can see there is a linear trend. And when you add the population, you get, okay, so for around the value of 6 unemployment, there is so again, you can answer in terms of that. Now, next we'll move to a simple histogram. You must have seen this kind of representation much number of times. So here we measure the frequency of a distribution and distribution of a measure. So I want to see how my data looks like. So for example, we go to the Airbnb apartment price rates. So you can see the price rate is the frequency is fairly at the lower end of the spectrum. So this gives the idea. Okay, so Airbnb are pretty cheap in when it comes to price. So also they are pretty expensive, but not as much. So they seem to be a good option when you're traveling. So this like you can find out insights. Next is a box plot. This is also a statistical plot, much like histogram, but it has a different application. First, let's see what a typical box plot terminologies are. So it is also sometimes referred to as a box and whisker plot. So here at the ends or the extremes are called the whiskers, and in the center you have the box. Now this box is okay. So I'll start from the lower extreme. This is the first quartile. Lower quartile is called the second quartile. Median is the third quartile, and the rest upper extreme till the upper extreme is the fourth quartile. So between the upper quartile and lower quartile is called the interquartile range. We have some simple formulas for that. You can look it up. And any value that lies outside whisker is called an outlier. That is that it's a very extreme value. Then you can decide what to do with that data according to the application. Let's say, for example, we are comparing here the automobile type like the SUV, sedan, in different countries on the measure, which is mileage. So as you can see, the SUVs have low mileages in all the three areas, the US, Asia, and Europe. And in terms of sedan, there is a wide range of mileages that is available. Especially in Europe, there are many outliers. So you can look into what kind of automobile companies, what is this automobile company that is providing such high mileage, and even in sedan, why is such low mileage available, and in terms of wagon and trucks, and so on. Next is called a heat map. Now, heat map is a basic representation of magnitude of the dimension in color. Now, we often do not want to see what the actual value is. We just want to see what its magnitude is, looking it holistically. For example, we see this you all may know about the 911 calls that go on in USA, in Montgomery County. So it is distributed by hour and by weekdays, the day in the week. Now, immediately you can see there is a clustering center, and the darkest areas you can see on Friday around 16, that is at 4 o'clock, there are a high number of calls. So what may be the reason around that? And why are there so much calls in that area, and especially in Friday? You can go and look into that. You can tell the precinct up to why it's happening, and you can look into it and further tell them. So this is how, again, you can use a heat map for your application. Next, we come to tree map. Again, this is to view categories or the values in those categories in the hierarchical data. So let's say this is a simple example of population, which is distributed by region. So we have the China, India. In the Asian region, we have Indonesia, Bangladesh. In Africa, we have Nigeria. Then in the Americas, we have USA, Mexico, and so on. So this gives you, a comparison size-wise what country is having population, or the category and its value relatively into each box. So you can see like China has the biggest, and India is also fairly big in terms of population, and so on. Moving on to next is called a packed bubble chart. Now it is very different to the bubble chart we had previously seen. The bubble chart we had previously seen was used to find correlation between two data. So this not give you correlation, it just gives you a pictorial representation of how your data looks like. For example, this is a tea beverage distribution. So you can see like the coffee has a fairly coffee has a fairly high share, and then in terms of tea, we have lemon and chamomile tea. In espresso, we have other you can see it gives you a basic idea of what product category of yours is working well. Another type which we use for analysis is this. I'll show you in the software how it works. So when you have a high number of categories, let's say you have states and have pin codes, and you want to drill down into the the very basic basic level of this data, then this chart is very helpful. As you can see, the bubble instantly shows you what areas uh, are better in terms of sales, and you can further eliminate and keep it. I'll show you in the software how to use this. Next, we go to the map charts. So when we want to see values in terms of geographical locations, we use map. So let's see, for this example is a projection of population that is going to be in, it ranges from 90 to 2030. So let's say in developed countries, you can see in the 1950s, 2030, there isn't much growth to be expected. As you can see, the darker circles are much more predominant. Whereas in developing countries such as Africa, India, and China, the projections seem to be like the population is going to increase till 2015 and 2030. So this is how you can understand the so the female literacy rate, as we all know, it's a old data. So please be aware of that. It is very low, and you can see the exception being Kerala and the northeastern states. And why go drill down into why these states have performed better when it comes to the female population, and why the other states haven't. Similarly, you can switch back to the male population, and you can see the Maharashtra, the northern states, again Kerala and southern states seems to be doing well. The states here, the Odisha and Telangana, Tamil Nadu does not seem to be doing that well. So why was that reason? Maybe you can look into Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh also. So again, you can derive insights and look into that. So we have seen basically the main types of visualizations that you may come across. There are many more. It depends on the application and how you can design your viz. So we'll look into a basic structure of what a good data visualization should look like. So another quotes that goes by the design of your visualization is not good if our audience cannot understand it under 30 seconds. Okay. So if you're taking more than 30 seconds to understand a visualization, then its design is not good. So what constitutes a good design? First of all, there needs to be a context. Why you are making this data visualization? Who are the intended audience, and what are the questions you are trying to answer through that data visualization? You need to give the context behind it, because this line will be important, and this is what will catch the user's eye and it will make them stay at your visualization. Move on to the subcontext. You want to give a little more idea about what your visualization is. Then you use the previous discussed methods to represent your data. Then if there are any further legends, you are drilling down into categories by color or by size, then you mention that. Can you mention any additional info, disclaimers, or something technical that your audience may not be aware about, but you want to convey them to better understand your visualization? Then, again, there are the, sources, company logos, copyright. So this is not a hard and fast tool for your data visualization, but this, you can, shuffle around the blocks as you want to. But this is the basic structure of what a decent viz looks like. So let's see an example. Okay. So I'll wait for 30 seconds and I want you to look at this visualization and try to understand what's going on. Okay. I'll wait for 30 seconds and you read every text you can see. Try to understand the X and the Y axis, why, what's going on, and things.
Shashank, I don't think you're audible. Guys, please excuse us. There is an issue on the speaker's end, and we are trying to fix that. So, meanwhile, probably guys could drop in the chat on what you guys understood from the graph that was shown, with a couple of countries and all those things. What did you guys understand? Like, do you think 30 seconds was enough according to, the golden rule that can you understand? Could you understand the graph in 30 seconds? What was your opinion? We'd love to hear it in the chat.
I'm audible now?
Yep, Shashank, now it's fine.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Guys, until we fix the issue, we could probably have a discussion in the chat. So, have any of you tried, doing visualization? If you've tried, so apart from obviously the 11th and 12th standard, where you draw on graph papers, any other tool you've used, you can please drop in the comments, and then we could probably have a discussion about that as well. Because in another 10-15 minutes, Shashank is going to introduce Tableau. So, which is right now. Oh, okay. So we have someone using Matplotlib and Seaborn, someone in Python, I guess. That's nice. That's nice. So, for those of you who do not know, Tableau is like right now one of the best visualization tool. A lot of business analysts, a lot of companies, a lot of top C-suite executives use it. So it was recently acquired by Salesforce as well for a lot of for a really high amount. So I think that justifies the fact that visualization is a really important tool for everyone. Okay, I can see Power BI as well. That's interesting. Okay, so someone's asking between Power BI and Tableau. I think that's something Shashank is definitely going to address in his session. So, but yeah, both of them are a very, very important, Power BI and Tableau. And certain companies use certain things only. So I've seen certain job roles and job profiles asking people to have Power BI skills and others asking Tableau. I've never seen like roles have both of them. So probably having an idea of both would be good. And I think once you know one tool in and out, you can definitely do something else. And plus Power BI, if I'm not wrong, is based on a little bit of Excel as well. So yeah, I think both of them are really important.
Hello.
Yeah, Sashank. Hello. You are not audible, I guess.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah, I'm not able to see that participants. Okay, I'll share my screen one sec. Okay, I'm back on. Guys, can you see my screen?
Visible.
Yeah, I'm terribly sorry for that, and I thank you for your patience. Can someone remind me till like when I lost you guys?
So you said you were going to start the 30-second thing where you're going to ask us to see if we understand it, and I think it was stuck in the slide. So
Oh,
probably if you
okay.
can give us 30 seconds on that slide, it would be good.
Yeah, I guess it was here, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. You guys can take your 30 seconds again, please. And I again apologize for this delay, and I thank you for your patience. Okay, I think everybody has a fair idea, and let's move on. So, first, the consulting firm is trying to grab our attention as to what this. I hope I'm audible. Can please confirm?
Yes, you're audible, Shashank. It's good.
Oh, okay, thank you. So the here we start with the context. Okay, so they are trying to tell us the African countries have typically announced a fiscal stimulus package of 1 to 1.5%. They are going to face problems when it comes to dealing with this pandemic. So they're showing us like the stimulus is very low when it's compared to other countries. For example, the United States and the UK and the Germany, they have a 25% to 20% in the double digits. They have the stimulus. Next, they have mentioned about the size of the cases. Like I hope you guys can recall that they are using a bubble chart. So they are showing a representation of this data with a bubble chart. Then if the legend in terms of African nations represent a show you the additional info. Now, if I don't know if you can read the note, I'll read it out aloud. The fiscal multipliers and the actual impact on GDP will be a reader like me or someone who is not well versed in terms of economics. This allows you to tell this shows that okay, the source of stimulus funding again will be a factor that will come into play. So they are letting you know that is an additional information. A representation, and it lets you in on a number of factors like who has a better GDP, what is the size of the stimulus, and so on. Let's into another example. Uh, the BCG again, it's trying to show with fuel will change pandemic. Again, they have given the line charts colors. They have okay, the L-shaped recoveries are very bad for the business, so they have highlighted it in red to grab your attention. Again, the 2-degree path and further details have been mentioned here. They have mentioned the sources. They have mentioned the abbreviations. They have a copyright here. So again, this is a complete representation, professional representation of your data, and they are trying to tell you what they are conveying through this chart. And we'll move on to the Bain and Company. So Here they are trying to compare three different companies, organizations, IBM, Netflix, and Marvel. So they are using here is what we call, if you recall, the stacked area chart. So they haven't mentioned the legends, but since there are only two main legends, you can see the gray is a tangible product like the hardware, domestic DVDs, toys, and publishing for Marvel, domestic DVDs for Netflix. And the red are the intangible ones, like the services, software for IBM, the domestic streaming, the licensing, and the film production. So you can see how the intangible and the software revenues have increased over time for the different organizations. As you can see, as soon as Netflix started international streamings, their subscriber base grew, so did their revenue. It's very similar for Marvel. You can see as they have started the MCU and the film production, there is a significant increase in that in this. So this is how you can analyze it using a stacked area chart. So let's look at. I hope I'm still audible. I'm sorry, I'll have to get some regular assurances because of the internet problem.
It's good. It's good, Shashank.
Audible?
Yep, you're audible, Shashank.
Hello. Can someone confirm if I'm audible?
Yes, Shashank, you are audible.
Yeah.
Come on. Am I audible, Harshit?
Yeah, Shashank, you're audible. Shashank, can you hear us?
Okay. Yeah, I shall continue. I can continue. Okay. So okay. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. So let's see how the vaccination. Let's see a story about how the vaccination of COVID-19 is going on. In the globe on the globe. So as you can see, this is a bar chart that is used to represent that Israel has the highest rate of vaccinations per 100 people, and accordingly you can see the countries that have had the vaccination rates. Again, the very similar structure. There is context, there is subcontext, there is a data representation. Since the legends are not required, so they are not mentioned. There is some they are trying to tell is that only the of world's population have acquired 53% of the COVID-19 vaccines. So this shows like how the inequality in terms of money can affect the vaccination drive in different countries. So this is how you can use pie chart to convey that information. Then we'll look into the cost. So the Moderna has the highest cost, then the Chinese Sinovac, then the Pfizer and BioNTech, and so on. So again, they have used a bar chart. There's a pictorial representation of a syringe to show how this, the cost varies. Then you have another representation of like in a kind of calendar. So the first day you get the dose, at the 12th day you start to build immunity, then the 21st day at your second dose, and then the 28th day you get your full immunity. So this again tells you how the vaccination process is going to proceed and how it will affect you in terms of dates. Then the efficacy rate of Moderna has the highest 95%, then Pfizer 95%, and the Russian 92%, the Oxford one has at least 70%. So these are pretty old data, so these might change. So he'd do that. So another representation of country, America. So each bubble represents a state. So you can see how each state is performing in terms of the vaccination per 100 people as of January 6, 2021. So this is again one. Another way for the map is you can see how in Germany the different states have the vaccinations done so far as of January 4th, 2021. The state of Bavaria has the highest, then have the North Rhine-Westphalia and Hamburg and so on. Okay. So this again gives, this is another representation of the timeline of how long it will take for countries to vaccinate their 60 to 70% of adult population. So for the, as you can see again, for developing countries, the timeline is much later, and the developed countries such as America and the Europe, the timeline is much quicker. So it will again depend on the population of the country, how the country is able to acquire the vaccine, other factors. So let's stop here and just I'll give a 5 minutes Q&A if anyone has any doubts regarding to data representation and anything they have to ask. You can please go ahead. I hope I am audible. Akshay?
Yes, Shashank, you are audible.
Okay. So anybody has any doubts, please. Thank you for the confirmation. Yeah, if anybody has any doubts regarding what sort of representation should they use or things like that, please go ahead and drop your questions in your chat box. Then we'll move on to the software and see how software works. Okay. I guess it was pretty straightforward and there wasn't much, to have a doubt. But if there's any. Okay, Suryansh. So see, yeah, so it gives, okay, first I'll answer the Suryansh's question. The representation mostly you will see depends on the kind of data you are using and who your audience is and what you're trying to convey. But the initial ones which you saw, the bar chart, the line chart, pie chart, these are the most simple ones which you have, very easy to understand, and hence they are the most used ones. There are many other charts, but it depends on your application, what you're trying to convey, and who your audience is. For example, for simple data, if your audience is not, a general audience, you don't want to use, representations that they won't understand or they have difficulty understanding. So again, data visualization is a two-way street. So like if you're an audience, then you need to have, if you have a very good understanding of data visualization, then any sort of visualization you'll be able to use. But if you are general audience and don't have any idea about data visualization, then you may want to keep it simple. That is the way. So answering to Vamsi's question, okay, one of the graph per 100 people percentage, the then percentage. Yeah, no, wait, I'll answer Vamsi's question first. How can we, yeah, so Krishna, it is just a representation per 100. So you can multiply it by, let's say, 100 more and it will give you 5572 per 10,000 people. So you can understand, okay, from 10,000 people, 5,572 have been vaccinated till now. So it's just a simple number. It makes you understand, it's interpretable much easy. If I buy multiply another 4 zeros, it won't look much good and visually appealing. So they use that decimal. It is per 100. So again, you can make the calculations if you want to go to a million, if you want to go to a billion, and so on. Coming to Nagalakshmi's question, okay, how we can find outliers using other charts other than box and plot. Yeah, Lakshmi, I think statistical charts are the best ones if you want to find out outliers. You can maybe use a heat map, but again, it will depend on the granularity of your data. The granularity means how deep you are into your data. So the best way is if you go by count and use, his yeah. So it will again. It is much better. It will help you find the insights much easily. I hope I have a question, Lakshmi. Okay, then I'll hope I'm audible. Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the software and see how Tableau works and what its basic look is. Whenever you open this software, you'll find this as your first screen. So here you have ways to connect to your data. Here you'll have the recent files that you have opened. Here are some sample books and some other information. So let's see how many ways you can connect to your data. First, you go to the Tableau server directly. If you have some files saved in Tableau server, you can directly access from there. Okay, I'm sorry. There are a couple of slides. First, we need to go. Okay, I'm sorry. So let's look into what Tableau is first, and then we'll go to the software. So it's an interactive data visualization software company. It was founded by researchers at MIT in 2003. It was recently acquired by Salesforce for 15.7 billion on the 1st of August 2019. And it is a leader in analytics and BI platforms. This is a Magic Quadrant chart, which is often used by Gartner. It's a very big research consultancy firm that recognizes Tableau and Microsoft as the leaders when it comes to business intelligence and data visualization. There are other companies, they have their own strengths and weaknesses, but they are categorized as that. There are different products available for Tableau. There is a main proprietary software, the Tableau Desktop Professional. Then you have the Tableau Server, Tableau Online, Tableau Public. Tableau Public is free. You have Tableau Reader, and Tableau Prep is the recent addition where you can do a lot of data manipulation before using the Tableau software. So this is a flowchart that basically gives you the idea of what product of Tableau you can use depending on your application. For example, if you can have a data that is public, you can use that Tableau Public. If you don't want the to be public, you can use the Desktop Professional and so on. So we'll not go into the details of it. We'll move on to the software. Okay. I hope I'm audible. Sorry for asking again. Yeah, thank you. So these are multiple to connect your data to a file. You can connect to an Excel file, a text, a JSON file, PDF, spatial, other types of file. There are a plethora of database options you have, the IBM, Amazon, Microsoft, SAP, and whatever possible databases are out there. If you have any saved data sources, you can use them as well. So those are the ways to connect to your data. For example, I'll show you how to connect to an Excel file. Here I have a sample store data. I'll click open, and this is the first window you'll get. So your Excel sheet has some sheets that you can see. I'll just drag this sheet into this table here, and it will give you a preview of the data of 1,000 rows and columns. So to give the lay of the land, first I'll talk about this. I hope you can see. This is a connection. The type of connection the data engine has with the database. Either it can be a live connection or an extract. Now the live connection is generally used when you have smaller data and you do not want to extract that data and changed accordingly. So let's say you have a small data here, example we have here. So whenever you update with the live connection, your visualization will automatically update. So you need not worry about that. But for example, if you are using a database that has millions and millions of rows, then you need to use extract feature, because the extract feature will allow you to extract that particular SQL sequence or the data set you want into the Tableau engine, which is much more nice and a faster way of creating visualization. Otherwise, if you keep a live connection with your database, then the engine will go through the entire database for every visualization update. So you need to keep that into mind while creating a visualization. So there are two categories of data. First is called a dimension, or you can say a category or of sorts. Either your data will be a dimension or it will be a measure. So anything that is blue in color is a dimension, and you can see, I hope, any field that is green in color will be the measure. So the data types can be represented as the numerical data will be represented as hash, the numbers. Here you can, do simple manipulation, like if you want to change this field order ID to just ID, you can just change it. Let's say I do not want to do that. Whatever you want to enter, you can enter. You can sort accordingly. If you want to sort by, let's say, I want to sort by sales, and have a preview of what your data looks like. You can split. Let's say I want to split this data, so I'll click here, and it will give me the option to rename, reset, and so on. Let's say I want to create a split, so it will automatically split this ID into state, year, and the customer ID. You can also go for custom split depending on your application. Then you need to mention the delimiter and how to split and so on. So the Microsoft function Control Z and Control Y work very similarly here. You can just Control Z to come back to your undo your changes. Now, so this is how basically it looks. Then if you when you're satisfied with your data, you move. Close this how wish goes in that. So to give the lay of land for this application, we have a bar here, the file, data, worksheets, and other tabs. Here you can go back to your data source if you want to connect to another data source. I have connected to multiple data source for the different examples I want to use. You have the analytics page. You can use constant line average and so on, which unfortunately I won't be able to discuss since the time limit already we are much into it. Here you have the two panes I was mentioning about. This is the dimension pane. As you can see, they are blue in color. Whenever I highlight them, they go blue in color. And whenever I go over a measure, it's green in color. So these are all numerical values. From here, view data, you can get a preview of your data if you again want to look at it. Here is a marks card. and here is your view. We have okay. So I'll show you each functions. This is the undo button. Save. If you want to add a data source, if you want to pause a current data source, here you want to add a new sheet, you want to duplicate, sort options, view options, share options, and so on. So let's start and let's see how simple visualizations look like. This is about the data set. This is a stored data set which has multiple dimensions and measures ranging from customer name, segment, and order, profits, and so on. So let's say I want to use category. Okay, so here is the column and rows shelf. We can use dimension measure. We can place here however we want to represent our data. So there are multiple ways to do that. You can either double click on the category. It will go into automatically rows and shift like this. If you want to remove a category, just drag like that. So let's say you can also type in if you want. You can type category and it will show me category. I can click on it, press enter, and there are your categories. Now I want to compare these categories against the measure of sales. Let's say this goes into rows. It will automatically give you a bar chart. So I'll go into view, change the view to entire view. Okay. Now what I want to do is this gives you a fair idea of what category has the maximum sales. Now I also want to look at shipping costs. So this is called marks card. This is how we can give more aesthetics to our data viz and give more details about it. So let's say I drag this shipping cost and I place it on the marks card. You can just drag on any marks card. I want to represent it by color. So as soon as I do that, there is a change in shade and it represents. Okay, so the shipping, this is called a legend card. It shows you how the shipping cost is distributed amongst the sales. You can see this has a high sale, but the shipping cost is also high. High sales, shipping cost is low, and so on. I can click here and go to edit colors. This will give this pop-up, and I can change it to, let's say, orange, brown, diverging. Here again, I have multiple customization options. I can go with stepped colors. I can reverse it. Since it's shipping cost I want to analyze, I'll reverse it, showing high as a darker color as a bad thing, that shipping costs are too high. We can minimize that, and blue as shipping cost is low. We can go to advanced and set this limit. We have the maximum and minimum. We can set this limit, center limit. Let's say I want this at 15,000. And I click OK, and your visualization automatically changes. So this gives you a fair idea about how the shipping cost is distributed in terms of sales. And again, you have size. You can reduce the bar chart size accordingly. Your text labels, you can click on marks labels and it will show you the value of that particular bar. This is called a tooltip. As I hover over any of the bars, you can see there is a tooltip that shows me the details about categories and sales. So I can edit this tooltip by going into this pop-up, bold, italics, and the similar functions we have. Okay, so this is what in details we can add certain. Let's say I want to add a profit to tooltip. Let's add profit. So as I move the tooltip, you can see now another category that is added of profit. Profit, sales, shipping costs, and category off again to remove on the application. Now, okay, once again from that. Thank you. Okay, so
yes, Shashank.
This is a simple bar chart, and let's clear this out to make a line chart. Let's say for line chart, I want to compare, let's say for line charts, as you can know, we need date. So let's say I go to order date and I drag it to column. Now this is a quarter. I just want the month. Okay. Now I want to populate this by profit. Let's say I put profit on rows. It automatically gives me a line chart. Then let's say I want to again create a dual axis chart. Let's say I want to compare sales in terms of profit. I'll go here and you can see it automatically shows our axis. Now it has populated. But as you might be able to see, these axes don't match. This 4000K is not matching with 2000K. So what I'll do is I'll just right click it, synchronize axis, and there you go. There you have the difference. Now this legend card shows you the profit sales in terms of the dates, as you can see. Again, you can go here and edit colors. Let's say click on profit. I don't want profit. Let's say I want profit in orange. Apply, OK, and there you go. You can change the path if you want, but it doesn't look that good. So again, one thing about marks card here, automatically as we create a dual axis, you have there is something called all marks card. So any changes you do here will be reflected in the end. All the this measure you have used. You can individually change the measure for the some profit and some sales accordingly. So that is how you can change the size if you want, and so on. This is how you create a dual axis line chart. So let's say we clear this out and move on. Let's create a combo chart. Creating a combo chart, let's say I want to see a product. Do we have product? Okay, let's say I want to compare category and I want to see sales. Now I don't want to change this bar chart and I want to compare the profit. I'll create a, you can do the same thing here. Click here and this will change it, but you don't want that. You can go to the individual ones. Let's say sales I want is as a bar, and for profit I want them as a line. So it will change here. Click on standard view, go to entire view, and your view changes. Okay, so this is again these axes don't match, so right click here, you click synchronize axis, and there you go, you have a combo chart. So as you can see, for office machines there is significant sales, but there isn't as much profit. So again, you can answer questions accordingly. This is how you create a dual axis chart. I'll clear this out and move on to a pie chart. What a pie chart is, let's say I want to compare customer segment in columns, and what I want to do is color them by region. Okay, so I have every region has its own color. Now what I want to see is the size of profit, the share of profit in size, but I don't want this. So I will click here and I will go to click on pie. Here is your pie chart. It is not a good practice to compare pie charts. I will warn you, but just for the sake of representation, I'm comparing pie charts. So the size represents the profit. As you can see, the corporate has the maximum profit. And when I add again, I can add profit to the angle. And I will click on label and charts label, and it will show the values of profit for every category. What I can also do is show percentage. I will click on this and I go to a quick table calculation. I want a percentage of total. I click on it and it will convert percentage. So it will tell me, okay, in corporate sector, in the North America region, as you can see here, this is a North American region, 10.1% is occupied by the grid. So let's say I want to compare the life expectancy of the male population as opposed to the GDP per capita. It shows a single plot because the measure is being aggregated as a sum and not. So I'll just go into analysis here and I'll click on aggregate measures. That means it will disaggregate the data now. If I want to again aggregate it, I click the default aggregation is sum. So I disaggregate the data and individual points are plotted. We'll go to entire view. Now you get a fairly fair idea of what's going on. I'll do some few customizations. Let's say I want the color to be, okay, let's size to be a little big. I don't want this hollow circles. I want full circles. Now I know the relation, but I don't know how they are distributed country wise. Sorry, region wise. So I'll pull the region into colors card and automatically changes. There's a legend Africa, Asia, Europe, and Americas, and you can see like the African countries have a lower life expectancy and also they have a lower GDP. The developed nations have much higher and so on. So let's say I want to add a little customization. I'll add border. It looks better and increase a bit. If I want to see Europe, so I press Control and drag this region. It will automatically show me like what's going on and how I should filter it. Well, there are many other ways. Wildcard, if there are many categories, then we can use a regular function to match the text. Here we have only 4, so I'll click OK and the filter is applied. I'll click here show filter. So here I can click on all, the visualization vanishes. Now I just want to see Asia and Africa. So it shows me this visualization, it changes. Like, okay, in Asia, we have this. Now, I don't know the country here, right? I just know it's Asia. So what I'll do is I'll pull country into the details card. And now it will show me the country as well. Macau in China and Singapore and Japan seems to have a high GDP and extremely high life expectancy. And the African nations, what African nation has a high GDP, but let's say Equatorial Guinea has a high GDP but a low life expectancy. There may be regional conflict going on. Maybe you can look into that why it's so. Again, you also do is a cluster analysis. Like, okay, this is a cluster of countries that vary. This is a cluster of African countries. These are outliers and so on. These are developing nations. You can go into developed nations and see, okay, the Europe seems to be doing better in terms of life expectancy as compared to America and so on. Again, you can use internet usage, tag it to size, and it will plot a bubble chart. But I don't think it will serve any good purpose here. But just for representation of how a bubble chart looks like. Okay. I hope everybody is still here. Yeah, and I hope I'm audible. Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the histogram. Okay, how histogram works. I'll move on to the SAT scores, and let's say I want to view by subject how the scores of SAT are by subject. I'll subject to row column, and I'll drag the scores to columns. Now this is a show me card. Here you can just click and it will show you basic representation of how visualizations, what visualization you can use. For generally for histogram, you need a count measure. So I would add the score as a count. So I don't want sum of the scores, I want count. So I'll use the measure as a count. So histogram changes. You create a you can again go to the show me card, and here you have the box plot. You click on it and you get the box plot. Now it isn't a single box plot. I want to see how it varies. So you have the detail. I'll drag the region back to columns. Yeah, okay. So here you have the box plot of how the GDP is varying according to countries and region. You have the details here. Then Asia, and you have many outliers here. Not in Europe, many outliers, but many outliers in Asia. This is how a box plot is created. Then we'll move on to heat map. Again, we'll move back to Superstores data, and for heat map, first I'll go into the department. I'll drag into rows. Now I'll drag the region into rows, and customer segment into columns. Now this creates a cross tab. Now I want to populate this cross tab by, let's say, profit, and this will show you text. And to create a heat map, either you can go here and click on a heat map. It will automatically give you a heat map, and you can just go to labels, switch off the labels, go to view, entire view, and there you have it. So you can see like the corporate section seems to be doing well across all the departments and regions, and in the office supply department does not seem to be doing well in the European and the American market. So it gives you the magnitude of how profits vary according to department, customer segment, and region. Moving on to tree map. Tree map, again we'll use the same data set, and we'll look into okay. So I want to see a category of customer segment. Let's say customer segment to columns, and category rows. Again go to show me. Yeah, it requires one measure. So let's say I want to see by sum of sales. So automatically it will highlight the tree map. You click on the tree map, and here you go. You have your tree map. Again, you can go to the edit colors, and you can change the colors accordingly. Click apply. You have this change, and you can observe, like again we know the corporate sector seems to be, corporate area seems to be doing well as compared to other sectors. Go to color, add a border for better visibility. So this is how you create a tree map. Moving to a packed bubble chart. For this, I'd like to move to the coffee chain query. So okay, for demo sheet. So for packed bubble charts, as I mentioned previously, we need to have a very high number of categories So the highest number of categories in this data set is the area code. So we area code by color, and now I want to and the size of it I want to be as sales. So I don't want these to be squares, I want them to be circle. So here you get the packed bubble chart. Now what you can do is, okay, some area codes seem to be doing well, so I'll select them. I don't want to look into them, I will look into areas that are not doing well. I can put them and dive deeper into my category. So I was mentioning about how you can use it for a packed bubble chart for analysis. I'll clear this and move on to map charts. So for map, you basically require this globe measures, that is the latitude and the longitudes. So latitude is the x-axis, as you know, the longitudes will go into the y-axis. So as soon as you do that, you will get a map. It is a default latitudes and longitudes. You'll get the map. Now you want to start populating this map accordingly. So let's say I want to compare, for example, okay. So sum of sales, I'll go to sales. I set for sales. Yeah. Set. Yeah. Sales. I will go to sum of sales by color and profit into details. And I want to look at it by country. Put into details. Will populate the countries. And also I want to look at them by state. I also have, you can see the globe icon. You can use them into, again, I want them detailed. So it will further divide them into states. So for example, the California state, in India we have Rajasthan, and Maharashtra. And in China we have regions. In Australia we have regions. So again, you can go to the marks card, change the colors accordingly, and you can drill down into how it is varying according to the geographical location. Okay. So let's move on to creating a dashboard. We have seen how to create multiple charts and how to, let's say, make it. Okay. So let's after you move on to dashboards, whatever charts you have created will be visible here. So you can drag and place. Let's say I want to map chart. I want to put here. Okay. So it'll populate the map chart. Then I want to look it into heat maps. So I'll populate the heat chart over here. Also, I want to look at the column chart. And also I want to look at the items, the top 10 items I have. So this is, you have created a dashboard. Now you can answer multiple from, let's say, by clicking here, you can use this sheet as a filter. For example, if I click on the California state here, all the sheets that are using the same database will automatically be affected by it. So you can see the shipping cost is fairly low in California region, and you can see, but the profits does not seem to be that high. And again, accordingly, you can go to Maharashtra in India, and you can, okay, these are the top 2 items top 10, but they don't have 10 items in Maharashtra, so they show only 2 items according to the sales and profit. So this is how a dashboard is created, and you can talk about your story and multiple insights that you have, derive it and mention it to your stakeholder. Sorry. So here, whatever filter you are using will automatically pop up into the dashboard. As you can see, the shipping cost and this. You can click on it here and go to floating. What floating does, it makes your filter free. So you can use the filter wherever you want. Okay, shipping cost I want on this sheet. Sales I want on the maps chart. So this is how you can customize your data, your dashboard. Again, I can use the filter. I want to look at only Asia Pacific and the European and African regions. So it will show me the entire dashboard changes accordingly. Further, I can go into like UK, how it's going, or any other state for that matter. So this is how a basic dashboard is created. You can go into the presentation mode if you want to show how, if you are into a into the presentation mode. So this is the basic layout of the basic structure of how Tableau works. There are many things that you can do in Tableau, but unfortunately due to the time constraint I could not show it to you. And yeah, so we'll move back to the presentation and conclude this session. Now the things to keep in mind while making a wish, that a visualization is a balance between art and science. So it's just not, it's about knowing your data and how you want to represent it. It needs to be simple and effective. A very complicated data visualization will not look good, and it won't convey the information you convey. The very first question before making a visualization you need to ask is why I'm making this visualization. Then you need to see if the data at hand is clean or not, because unclean data will give false insights and bad representation. And then you further drill down to, okay, what sort of chart and diagram I want to use to represent the data, and how much information is too much information, because you don't want to overwhelm your audience when it comes to information. You just want to keep it, like I mentioned in the second point, a simple and effective. This is the basic gist of data visualization, and I'll conclude now. For further learning, Tableau offers this proprietary software for free to students with valid student IDs for 1 year of subscription. You can use the you can use the Tableau Desktop Profile, the software I was using, for 1 year entirely for free, and the e-learning modules are also attached with the subscription, so you can learn from those as well. You can do badges and certifications. The certifications are paid to show the level of skill you have on the software. And you can also use, for additional info or learning, you can use platforms like Udemy, Coursera, etc. Or the best source I find YouTube. You can just search for any kind of visualization specifically you want to search about into YouTube, and it will give you a fair idea. So thank you. In an incredibly long session. I hope you guys got something out of it. And I also hope I'm still audible. Yeah, so I've concluded. Any questions? If anyone has any questions, anyone that are remaining, please, you can put forward your questions and I'll be happy to answer. Okay. Thank you to everyone who and who are present here for giving your time. I understand. Uh, if you want to learn more about visualization or